didn't receive the mail ID, student mail ID from them.
Huh. Okay. So what you can do is, please, do you have the support ID with you?
Yes, ma'am, I have a mail of them.
So speak with them, write to them and ask for a clarity. Because a lot of things happen in the administration which we don't get much access to. They will have certain logic to decide things in a certain way. So write to them and they'll give you details of everything. In case if you require anything else to be a part of the event or anything, all those details would usually be given by the people in the admin. Okay, you can write to them
Okay,
and get
ma'am.
clear.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I have logged in from two devices today because uh, my laptop seems to have some problem with its microphone. But I will show you the slides and everything through this one. But my voice would mostly come from the other device. Okay. So, but I can hear you all properly. Don't worry about it. I'm going to share the screen with you. Just confirm with me if you're able to see it. Do you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. If that is the thing, then no problem. We discussed these things yesterday, right? Okay. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Yeah. So we did discuss these things yesterday, right? We spoke about I think we finished talking about the introductory phrases, and we were supposed to discuss the second one, right? That's what we were talking about. I think I just introduced you to that, but let's just go over it. See, in a compound sentence, we discussed what a compound sentence is yesterday. They have they have two independent clauses, right? They have got two independent clauses, and you have a coordinating conjunction that joins these two independent clauses together, right? Now, what happens when you're doing this thing, right? When you're joining two independent clauses to form a compound sentence, the coordinating conjunction takes a comma before it. Now, these are all standard writing conventions. Of course, they don't make much sense when you're talking about conversational English. But we know the punctuations that we use in writing, they represent the pauses and breaks that we use in our speeches, right? So in this case, if you're writing such a sentence, then the common punctuation error that is seen in that form, the sentence is that people miss out on the comma that is required before the coordinating conjunction, right? So this is one thing that you need to keep in mind when you're looking for punctuation errors in your writing. Okay, remember we're talking about editing proofreading. So when you're proofreading your work, someone else's work, or for general purposes, one of the punctuation errors that you would see is this missing comma in the compound sentence. Okay. Second thing that you would want to know is, the third one is comma splices or fuse sentences. Now, if fragments are a problematic, thing in a sentence, so are fuse sentences. When does something become a fuse sentence? When you haven't separated them out properly, right? When you try to club together too many things together in a sentence, it loses, it completely destroys the clarity that is required while you read, right? So few sentences or lack of separation between sentences is another thing, and this happens because of the wrong punctuation or missing punctuations that you see in the sentence, right? So now look at the sentence you have here. I am skilled at swimming. I do butterfly strokes. Okay. What is this? These are two different sentences, right? By which I mean they're two separate independent sentences, and they're separated out just by a comma, right? That's not how it works when you have to bring together two independent sentences. When you're doing this, either, so one of the method is the one that we just discussed in the previous case, right? You use a coordinating conjunction, right? Like and then you use a comma to separate out the second independent clause from the first one, right? So that is one method that you can use, right? A second method in order to solve the problem of the fused sentences is to use a semicolon between these two independent clauses. Between these two separate sentences, you can place a semicolon and show enough of separability between them. The third way you can do it is you separate them out into two different sentences. That's the last thing that you see on the screen, right? I am skilled at swimming, full stop. I do butterfly strokes, full stop. So this is the third method, a total of 3 methods in order to solve the problem of fused sentences. Remember, just putting in a comma does not suffice when you are, dealing with two separate sentences, individual sentences. You either have to separate them out using by placing a semicolon, or you, if you are, looking forward to use them as a compound sentence, then you add a coordinating conjunction preceded with a comma, or you simply separate them out into two different sentences. So you have 3 methods available in order to solve this problem. And one of this should definitely be implemented while you write. Okay, so that is about your third commonly found punctuation errors. The fourth one is missing misplaced possessive apostrophes. Look at those sentences carefully. Asha's office desk looks really neat. This is a case of what? A missing apostrophe. Now, which one should take the apostrophe? Asha's, right? So after Asha, you need to have an apostrophe. What does this apostrophe signify? When I say Asha's office, this shows possession, right? This shows possession. You're talking about the office desk, which is Asha's. So showing office desk as the possession of Asha. And if you're showing possessive, possessions, and you're using, in this case, to show possession, you have to use the apostrophe, right? There is another place where you use apostrophe. Can you tell me what that is? Especially with followed by this S and all. Any idea? You should be knowing this actually. A lot of you, we keep using them all the time. It's unlikely that you don't know this. Where do you use this apostrophe, especially followed by an S? No contractive forms? No? Hey, are you able to hear me properly, or is it because the audio is still not reaching? Okay. All right. Yeah, please respond occasionally so that I know that I'm still connected. Yesterday, we did lose out the audio for a while. So I'm constantly on watch for if you can hear me or not. Okay, thank you. Someone has replied. Okay, so see, haven't you seen contractive forms, right? So like she apostrophe S, right? In this case, this is not a possessive apostrophe, right? What is this? This is a contraction. So she is, she apostrophe S could mean either she is or she has, right? So for contractions or contractive forms also, you use this apostrophes, right? However, in this case, this apostrophe shows possession, that is belonging. So Asha's office desk means office desk that is Asha's, or office desk of Asha. That's what it means, right? This is a very commonly confused thing in English, and people get it wrong also, right? So in the first case, because you were showing possession for Asha, the office desk as possession of Asha, you need to put in a apostrophe, right? So this is a case of missing apostrophe. Now, second sentence, if you look at officers should report to the center on time. What's the problem? Here you have used an apostrophe with officer, like officer apostrophe S. Why is it wrong there? This is a case of misplaced apostrophe. You don't need it there. The S that you see there, officers, is actually referring to plural noun, right? So more than one officer. In Asha's case, that was not the thing. It was a possessive apostrophe. But in the second case, you don't need an apostrophe. So a case of misplaced apostrophe, since we are not referring to, a possession or anything of the officer, this is officers in plural. That's all. Okay. So two cases commonly found mistake in proofreading. First one is the case of missing apostrophe, and the second one is the case of misplaced apostrophe. Okay, is that clear to all of you? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I also want to talk about the last one here, right, which is the missing commas in a series, right? This comma, it has many names. It's sometimes called the series comma, sometimes also referred to as the Oxford comma, okay? Now, what is this? This is usually the comma that is placed right before the second element or the second item listed in the series. Look at this example. Pencils, color pens, and writing pads were distributed among the children. The first sentence in here, there's a problem. The problem is of the series comma. How should you write it without any punctuation error? The second sentence. Pencils, comma, color pens, comma, and writing pads were distributed among the children. Right? So that is, in the first case, you did not have a comma after color pens, but this comma is necessary. Whenever you have more than two items in the list joined together by an and, right? When you have more than two items in a list, then they need to be separated out using commas, and a comma should follow after every item listed, right? You cannot skip it. If you have more than two items in the list, you're talking about more than two items together in a list, then every item needs to be followed up with a comma. Okay. So that is the fifth commonly found punctuation errors in writing. So all of this, most of them pertaining to commas and semicolons and all that. The most commonly found mistakes are usually the mistakes of not using commas. Okay, other people could also, there are like problems with capitalization and, end punctuation marks like periods and all. But that is something that has been, addressed, and people do use it properly. But the commas sometimes can create a lot of confusion. There are still people who are confused about where should I use a comma, where should I not, right? These five errors that I have mentioned is the one that is frequently seen in writing, right? So watch out for this when you are writing too, okay? Which all? The first one, the comma after the introductory phrase, then the comma after the first independent clause in a compound sentence before the coordinating conjunction, then the unnecessary usage of comma. Okay, so instead of comma, you should either use a semicolon or separate out the sentence or convert it into a compound sentence, right? That one. Fourth one of the apostrophes, and fifth of the series comma. Okay, these five are something that you should definitely watch out for while you are writing. Okay. Now, the next thing are the errors of grammar. Okay, so we discussed 5 errors for punctuation. The next 6 we'll talk about the errors in grammar and what are they the most commonly found grammatical errors. Okay, they are, the first one is of the subject verb agreement, right? We know this. Now, subject verb agreement. What is subject verb agreement? You already know this. You might have watched the lecture on this. You must have also, heard the, done some exercises also on this, right? So subject verb agreement is the agreement between the subject and verb to agree in number, person, and gender. In English, you do not have gender. So you agree with each other on number and person, right? I hope that part is clear. If you do not understand, you can ask. I just go over it, because I think it is understood. Now, what is important is not just subject verb agreement. You should also have an agreement between the pronoun and the antecedent. Okay, now what is pronoun and antecedent? Okay, say I have a sentence like the students will return from their excursion on Monday. Okay, the students will return from their excursion on Monday, if that is the sentence I have. And I have a follow-up sentence which says, it will then go home. Okay. So if I'm writing like this, the students will return from excursion on Monday. It will then go home. So what am I doing here? There is a problem with the agreement of the pronoun and the project. So what is the pronoun it referring to here? Any idea? The second sentence. I'll do one thing. I'll write down the sentence in the chat so that you can have a closer look at it. Just give me a minute. It's the chat. Okay. So the sentence is, or okay, I'll change the sentence. I saw bike and bus on way to right. Okay, do you see the sentence in the chat? Right, I saw a bike and a bus on the way to school. It was red, right? Now, do you can you tell what does it refer to the bike or does it refer to the bus? When I say I saw a bike and bus on the way to school, it was red. Do we know whether it refers to bike or the bus? Is it clear from the sentence that I have written? No, right? You don't know. I just say it was red. So it could be either the bus or the bike. We do not understand whether, this is, it refers to the bike or the bus. I've simply said it was red. So this is what is called as the pronoun and antecedent disagreement, right? There is no agreement between these two things. We do not know what does the pronoun refer to. There's a referential issue, right? So whatever, whichever one of them is red, when you write a sentence like this, when you have more than two objects in here, you will have to be more specific. That is, you write okay. No. That is because this got interrupted for a while. That's why you can hear me now, right? Okay, all right. Fine. So that is on the pronoun and antecedent agreement. Okay, now next is tense inconsistency. Of course, if you are using, say, past tense, then continue writing in past tense unless, you are required to change the tense of the, there is a need to change it. Unless you have a need to change the tense in the sentence, you should not be changing the tense at all, right? That is how it works. So if, for example, if I have a sentence like, the report was submitted yesterday. it has been reviewed, right? You don't have to, so the second sentence, I have changed the tense from simple past tense to present perfect tense. Now that is not required. Okay, unless there is a requirement to, the situation demands you to change the tense to something else, you should not be doing it. If you began with past tense, then continue writing in past tense. If you started off with present tense, then continue writing in present tense. Do not unnecessarily change your tense. This is called tense consistency. Okay, so you need to maintain the tense. Pronoun consistency, right? This was the example I was trying to give you before. I'll again, type out the sentence here so that you can understand. Okay? The students have returned from the excursion. Okay, suppose this is the sentence, and then I have another follow-up sentence. It will come, it will come to the class tomorrow. Okay, this is a sentence that we have. The students have returned from the excursion. It will come to the class tomorrow. What is the problem in this sentence? What is the problem with these two sentences? What error do you point out here? No one wants to try. Yeah, it, right? And what is the problem with it? It is not consistent with the referential point. It actually refers to who the students, and what's the number of the students? It's plural, right? So ideally, the pronoun that you should have been using was they, right? They will come to the class tomorrow. Yes, all of you are right. It is the problem. It has to be replaced with what? It has to be replaced with they, right? Only then the pronoun and what it refers to would be in consistency with each other, right? So that is the pronoun consistency, right? So tense consistency, pronoun consistency, agreement of both pronoun antecedent and subject and verb. Fourth one, verb endings. Verb endings, this is about your knowledge about regular and irregular verbs. You should know which verb takes ed, which verb takes t. Okay, what is the past participle form? What is the past, simple past tense form? Right. So the V2, V3 forms, basically the endings of the verb. You know that the verbs modify themselves in order to represent most of the grammatical changes in the sentence, right? So by verb endings, we mean all of those verb endings should be according to the tense or the aspect that you require to ensure in the sentence, right? That is what verb endings mean. Prepositions, I do not know how many of you were here for the class on collocations, or you have watched at least at a later stage. If you understand what grammatical collocations is, proper preposition also refers to proper grammatical collocations. Just to give you a quick example, when you have a noun like difference, right? The next thing that would follow it would be the word between, right? Difference between, or interested in, right? Angry at, right? So look at this. All these prepositions that follow that noun, they are fixed. Okay, these are fixed expressions and they don't change, right? This is called a grammatical collocations. They always appear together and they're also fixed. The bond between them is quite strong. It's a strong collocation, so you cannot separate them out. So much so that if you try to separate it out, the whole of the sentence becomes ungrammatical, right? So which is why errors of grammatical collocations also is very common among people who are not regular users of English language. But this is a serious mistake, since English language does not allow for these are examples of grammatical collocations which are very strong. You separate them out, or you try to use some other preposition instead of between or at or something along with the words I mentioned, it becomes entirely wrong. Not just the meaning, but also the grammar goes wrong, right? So this is again the fifth problem that you usually find while we are correcting for errors of grammar. And the sixth one is dangling or misplaced modifiers. What are modifiers? What parts of speech can act as modifiers? You tell me, meanwhile, I'll write down a sentence to show you what do we mean by misplaced modifiers. Nobody? What are modifiers? Which parts of speech can be used as modifiers? No? Models, no. Models are not modifiers, Prakash. Modifiers are elements that provide additional information to about the nouns or pronouns. So yes, Sarvani, you are right. Adjectives, just adjectives. We don't have any other modifiers. No, right? We do. Adverbs are also modified. Yeah, correct. Yes, you're right. So adjectives and adverbs are the most commonly used modifiers in English language, right? Or in fact, every other language. Now you look at the sentence, the one that I've typed out in the chat. The files were returned to the office, which were reviewed. Okay. Can you tell me which part among this sentence is a modifier? Which were reviewed. Okay. The part which were, the whole part which were reviewed is your modifier, right? It's a clausal modifier. It's bigger than a word. It's not like a simple adjective or adverb. It's like a clause, right? A subordinate clause, right? Which were reviewed. Now, what is the problem with the sentence? What is it modifying? Which were reviewed. What is it modifying in the sentence? Which noun is it modifying?
Files.
Sorry, go ahead. Files, right? The files, correct. Files is what it is modifying, right? The files is what is being modified by which were reviewed. What do we mean by misplaced modifier? Usually when you have a modifier in a sentence, right? By rule, by convention, the modifier should be found next to what it is being modified, what it is modifying, sorry. Okay, it should be placed next to the entity or element that it modifies. Is that the case in the sentence? No. Okay, the modifier is kept towards the end of the sentence. It is modifying the files, but the modifier phrase the clause is put towards the end. And this is called a case of dangling modifier, or some people also call it the misplaced modifier. So the corrected form of the sentence would be the files which were reviewed were returned to the office, right? This is the correct way of writing this sentence. If you write it in the way I have typed it out in the chart, then this is called a case of dangling or misplaced modifier. Dangling, what do we mean by dangling? So the modifier looks like it is dangling somewhere else. Okay, it is not along with the thing that should be modified, that it is modified, right? This is the case of misplaced or dangling modifier. Understood? What do you mean by misplaced modifiers? Okay. All right. So this is the common errors of grammar. What all? Agreement between subject verb, pronoun antecedent, tense consistency, pronoun consistency, verb endings, proper preposition, that is grammatical collocations, and then the case of dangling modifiers. Now, the last one here is spelling errors. Spelling errors, see, there are two types of them. One is general spelling errors, which you make because you don't know the spelling, right? That is one thing. But there are other kind of spelling errors. The first one, there are several words which sound the same, but they have different usages, right? Like for example, the ones that you see on screen, advise, right? When used as a noun, does it take C or S? C, right? Advice is noun. So when used as a noun, advise will have a different spelling. It will be spelled with a C. When used as a verb, it is spelled with an S. right? Similarly for practice and practice. Okay, so this difference sounds very same. However, if you use the wrong spelling, then the meaning entirely changes. So there is spelling errors related to functional usage, the first one as you see, and then the general spellings, the one that you make because you haven't encountered this word before. Okay. So these are two kinds of spelling errors that you see. The last one in this is word choice related errors. Where do we require word choice? We talked about this while we were discussing descriptive writing, right? I told you that you have to choose appropriate set of words that would help you talk about the topic that you are discussing. And why do we do that? Because this will bring specificity to your writing. Okay, it will help you to avoid things that are irrelevant to your discussion or your write-up, right? So that is word choice, and word choice related errors could include usage of undefined words or phrases. Okay, when you are unable to define something that you have written, that is called an error related to word choice, right? Irrelevant phrases, when you use phrases that have got nothing to do with what you're writing. Okay, you take them out and still your passage looks fine, right? They do not add any meaning to it. They don't add any substance to what you're writing. Most of such phrases would be referred to as irrelevant phrases. So when you are proofreading, when you're editing, this word choice related error is mostly related to editing than proofreading. Okay, because word choice correction is related to content correction. It is not a proofreading correction. So watch out for words which do not add any meaning. Look out for words which do not help you much in order to convey your ideas to your reader. This is mostly about the word choice part. Okay. Then the third thing related to word choice would be vague pronoun references. We already had a discussion on this, right? So the pronoun antecedent inconsistency that we discussed in common errors of grammar. Remember the bike and the bus statement. I saw a bike and bus on the way to the college. It was red, right? This kind of vague pronoun references is also something that is used on both proofreading part as well as the editing part, right? So one should be able to use proper pronoun references. Do not leave it undefined. Fourth one is filler words. What are filler words? Can you give me examples of filler words? Can you give me examples of filler words in speaking? Forget about writing. In speaking, can you give me a few examples of words that you use as fillers?
Like that.
Yeah. Not sounds, right? We have a tendency to use and and all that. They are not full-fledged words, but there are words that people use to just fill in the space. This phrase, all right, okay, right? All of these words are something that you use to fill in what you're talking. Probably you're buying some time to think about your topic, while you're talking with someone and all that. These kind of words are very abundantly used by speakers in order to buy time or to just fill up the gap, so that there is no much of silence while they're speaking. Similarly, there are words that people would use while writing in order to fill up the gap. Okay. These kind of filler words. Now, how do you know they are filler words? You know they are filler words because even if you take it out of the sentence or that paragraph, nothing happens to the paragraph. Nothing. It does not add anything to the meaning of the sentence or the paragraph that you're writing. It does not take away anything from it also. So it's a useless thing. It's an irrelevant thing, which is why it is called a filler word. Right? So when you're editing for word choices, you should also watch out for these filler words. This word that I've used or this phrase that I've used, does this do anything to my writing? Does it add anything to what I'm writing? Right? Or is it simply sitting up there and eating the space? If that is the case, if the answer is yes, then you should be taking that out of the write-up, right? So that's filler words. too many jargons. The last one, too many jargons or ornate expressions. It means using, a language or using phrases and words which are inaccessible, whose meanings or their expressions are inaccessible to your target audience, right? Which means if you're talking to children about, you say you're talking about the process of, generation of electricity. There is a certain language that you'll have to use with a general audience, and there is a certain language or a set of phrases. By language, I mean the set of phrases and words that you should be using with people who are from, who are experts in that area, people who understand technical language. So choose the words that you use based on the audience that comes to you. If you think it's a general audience, then you will have to tone down, mellow down a little bit of your language in order to make your work accessible to them. Okay. If it is not a specialized group who would understand, technical vocabulary and the terminology, then you will have to be considerate towards that, right? And even when you're using jargons, field jargons, as you call them, make sure that the other part of your sentence is not too convoluted. Don't use too many ornate expressions, old, archaic, age-old expressions, right? And clutter your writing in order to ensure that there is enough clarity for the reader. Okay, so these are the few errors that you can, all of this is discussed in detail in that week 12 video. So when you listen to it, you can understand them better. I just don't have too much time to go over each one of it clearly here. So you can also follow it up on that lecture video, okay? So these are the few editing proofreading problems that we have with respect to writing, right? Word choice related problems, spelling errors, grammatical errors, and the first one was the punctuation errors, okay? All right. Now, I do not know how many of you have your write-up ready with you, because I don't see people who have had that. Let's do one thing. I will share what I've had from the older batch with me. I just want you to go through that and tell me if you can spot the errors that we just discussed today. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen and open up the other document. Just give me a minute. Slides. Okay. Should be session 4. Okay, session 4. Extensions. Peer deck. Okay. Yeah. Instructor based, student based. Okay. It's still loading, but you can see the screen, right? Do any one of you have your work with you from the previous class? You guys, Kunal, Prakash and all, because you have been here for some time, right? You have been there for the sessions. So what you can do is when you get that screen open, you can copy paste your work and edit your own work based on the inputs that I've just given you. And the rest of the people, you guys can also look at the other things that I'm going to put up on the screen. But people who do not have a write-up of on your own, there are people who have just joined today and all. You guys can go ahead and do the editing on the work that is already present in what I have. Okay, I'm going to share that link to join this one in the chat for people who are not able to access. You can access it from there. Okay, so we'll be using this to edit and proofread the work. You guys, both of you, you can copy paste your work here and then do the editing on that thing first. People who do not have it, you guys start working on this one. Okay. Is everyone able to see the screen and can you see the sample? Yes. Okay. So start reading that. We'll do at least 2 of them. I have, I think, about, let me check. Yeah, there is more than 4 or 5 of them, but it's okay. We'll do at least 2 so that you have an idea of how to do these things. Okay. Just read the whole of the sample that you have here and identify the errors. You can just, write down your errors as 1, 2, 3, 4. Just say pronoun agreement inconsistency and then write the sentence there. Okay. Or if you find like a punctuation error, just say punctuation error and correct the sentence and write along with it. Okay. Oh, of course, the sample is to be edited, Nayan. In your response, you're going to list down the edits that you have made. That is what I just told you. Like if you find there is a pronoun antecedent inconsistency or disagreement, you just write that point and then along with it, you write the corrected sentence. How will you modify it? Yes, yes. We need to find out the error. You can just read it till, the third one, the third sentence that you see, as in there's just one sentence in that line. This trip was very important and super because it was very difficult trip, that part. Your editing can end there. You don't go for the further one. Just edit till there. And once you're done, we'll quickly see what you have seen. Just let me know in the chat once you're done with the editing of this part so that we can go to the next. You decide, that is all upon you. Okay. That depends on how you want to read it. You make the corrections and we'll see if that is a necessary one. Just write it down on your response sheet and we'll see if that is something that we require. Okay. Okay. Shall we discuss this? Or do you need another 2 minutes to do this so that we can uh, do all of this? What do you say? Okay, one more minute and then we'll read the sample and see what are the corrections that you can make with respect to the errors we discussed. Okay, so we'll discuss what say. Let's look at it. Is that all right?
Yes, we will discuss.
Okay, we look at this. Just okay. Now, last time we visited Leh, it was very fantastic trip because we had you read it already. What is the problem with the first sentence? Is there a problem that last time we visited Leh?
Comma is missing. Instead of that, there is a full stop.
Instead of what?
Both sentences should be punctuated by a comma rather than a full stop.
Yeah, right. But you're right. I get what you want to say. But look at the construction of the sentence itself. You know, if you look at the sentence in terms of how it is written, it is what we call as non-specific writing. Last time we visited Leh. What time? Okay, there is no discussion on what time we are talking about. You simply can't say last time we visited Leh. Which time did you visit Leh? So to make your writing a little better, you will have to we discussed that for good writing also means specific writing, right? You need to keep your writing specific. So last time, instead of last time, what all things can you say to make it specific? You could say last summer, okay, or last month, right? Or you can specifically say the name of the month also. Last January, we visited Leh, right? So simply saying something like time, you have to define time. You don't simply say time, right? So this is one issue. The very first issue we see here. Last summer, we visited Leh, right? It should have begun with the.
For comma, it should have begun with the, but yes, comma cannot be justified.
You mean there should have been a comma after whatever time you mentioned? Like,
comma would have been desirable if the sentence had started with the, but I see it has not started with the last time.
Okay. If the sentence started with the last time we visited Leh, but the last time we visited Leh looks like an incomplete sentence, right?
Yes,
Then there
ma'am.
should be something that follows up after that. The last time we visited Leh, something, okay, followed by that. Then it is fine. You can use both of the technique if you are doing it as beginning with then the only problem is you'll have to write more. But if you stay on this part, actually when you're editing, you don't make like big changes, right? You only try to keep up within what the author wanted to write. So in that sense, I think a better thing would be to make a change to last time we visited, to change time to something else, change it to a specific time period like last summer or last month or last January, whatever, and then continue writing. Yes, you're right, there is a problem with punctuation there also. You need to use a comma, right? So this is like a introductory phase. Yeah, the meaning mustn't change, correct? So you say last summer or last month, comma, we visited Leh. Okay, so that is the first two errors you see here. Then the next sentence you see, it was very fantastic trip because we had a great time together in the mountains. What's the problem here?
Fantastic is superlative. Very fantastic.
The problem here is the usage of the word very. It is not wrong in meaning, but it is an odd usage. Okay, very fantastic. No, you don't say that. Fantastic is not in superlative. It is a normal adjective. We don't have anything here. But you can use a better word. The word choice related problem could be using the word very here. Instead of very, you can think of using a little different, a different adverb here instead of using very. Right? Very is an adverb of degree, but you can go by a different adverb in order to make it a little more, efficient. That's all. But the major problem here is a missing determiner, right? You can't write it was very fantastic trip. You have to say it was a. Okay, so there's a missing determiner there. Article is missing. So it was a whatever suitable. Say I can say something like an absolutely fantastic trip, right? So I can replace very with a better adverb, either absolutely or anything that deems fit. But more importantly, it needs to precede. It should be preceded by a determiner, like an, right? That is missing here, so that is also an error. All right. Next, we explored the Trans-Himalaya a lot and understood the basics facts about the high altitude. What's the problem? Basic, that is one very obvious mistake, right? Not basics, it should be basic. Besides that, do we need that a lot there? We explored the Trans-Himalayas a lot.
Deeply.
Sorry?
We explored the Trans-Himalayas deeply.
Deeply, or simply saying we explored the Trans-Himalayas is also fine, right? Yes. Even if you want to like say, how did you explore? There are other better adverbs or adjectives that you can use to do it. But a lot is not something that that fits properly here. So yes, deeply, anything, like you're saying that you can use it here. So we explored the Trans-Himalayas. Either you can leave it as it is, or if you're going to describe about how did you explore it, then use words that are suitable enough for that, not a lot. Okay, this is vague usage. Because again, undefinable. A lot means what, right? And understood the basic facts. Okay, that's fine about the high altitude. Now, followed by, at the same time, we also saw a lot of wild. I personally think that could have been a typo, but at the same time, we also saw a lot of wild animals and birds. What's the problem in this sentence? Correct. Wild animals and birds. But is there a case of missing comma?
At the same time, comma.
Correct. Right. So this is an introductory phrase and it requires a requires a comma, right? After introductory phrase. So at the same time, comma, we also saw a lot of wild animals and birds. Next one, this mountainous region is a great home to many rare species. Any problem there?
Mountain region.
No, mountainous is correct, but the spelling I think is wrong. Okay, the spelling of mountainous is wrong. But besides that, the sentence is fine. This mountainous region is a great home to many rare species is a fine statement. But the spelling error should be rectified, right? Now comes the next one. This one has a lot of problem. Especially we visited a lake, Pangong Lake, that comes in both India and China. How will you, the sentence has to be entirely rephrased, right? How can you write it in a better way?
We made it a point to visit.
Sorry?
We visited a lake called Pangong Lake that belongs to both India and China.
Right. So, do you get this feeling from the sentence that this person wanted to introduce this as, something that was very important, something that he felt was, a rare experience. It does, right? It does look like, because the use of the word especially, it looks like they wanted to, the person wanted to represent this as something that was a different sort of an experience, right? So this is a place where you can make use of, remember, transitional devices. In the third session, we had a discussion on this, right? No, not third session, second session, when we're discussing unity and cohesion, we talked about transitional devices. So this is a very good place to use a transitional device, right? How can you rephrase it? I'll just give you my version. You could like make differences to it accordingly. However, what was very what can I say? Say I'll write it down so that you can also see what changes we have done, right? However, really where meant was the visit to Hong Lake, right? Lake. And the next thing is this lake is located at the border between India and China. Okay, this is like, I've just written this down roughly so as to give you an idea. Okay, look at this. However, what was really a rare moment was the visit to Pangong Lake. This lake is located at the border between India and China. Okay, sorry, that's India. There's a problem with the spelling error. But you get the point, right? However, what was really a rare moment was the visit to Pangong Lake. This lake is located at the border between India and China. So you're introducing, right? You're presenting a new information which you thought is rare, right? To show that you have used a transit. This means, however, is usually a device that you use to show contrast, but it can also be used to represent something to show your excitement, right? That, I'm going to talk about a new thing now. Okay. So instead of simply writing it off plainly, these are techniques that you can use in writing in order to make your writing more interesting, right? So the moment you use the word, however, there, the person who reads know that, okay, this person is going to say something different from what he has been talking about. And that's true, right? Because he has been talking about the wild animals and birds and rare species and all that. Now, the next thing that the person wants to present is about the Pangong Lake. So to show the difference in direction of speaking now, introduction of a transitional device like however is very useful. Okay, that whole sentence gets a new flavor when you write it the way that I just suggested. Of course, there can be other ways of writing it. This is just one suggestion among that. Okay, do you agree with this, that this is a better way of writing than the one you see here? Okay, I'm sure there are better ways than what I have written, but this one is certainly better than what you see on the screen, right? Yeah. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can, okay. So you could, make this kind. So we are not changing the meaning. We are not changing the flavor of what the person wanted to write. We are only editing it to make it a little more efficient, right? That's all. Now look at the rest of the three sentences. This
Excuse
is,
me, ma'am.
yes, go ahead.
How can we improve, like how you wrote?
Huh.
Yeah.
See what, if you are planning to break and write it again, what the first thing you should do is take off all the major details that's there in the sentence, put them aside and see how can you rephrase the sentence without losing its meaning. Right. And one method is, like I told you, this is a place where you can use a transitional device, right? You haven't used it. When you're writing down, always look out for places where you can use transitional devices. See if I use a, signposting here, will it make my writing? I haven't done anything to the sentence. All I have done is I've just added a transition there, right? So that has changed the whole way the sentence looks now. So make use of these devices that you have. Okay, try and use them. Of course, don't overuse them. Only if it is doing a good, role of making it clearer to the reader, then use it. But please use them. Do not shy away from using transitional devices. They not just help you connect between the sentence, but they also help you present your, work a little better. It adds more clarity to what you're writing also. Okay. And how can you improve? Keep practicing. Take these things and like I have suggested you one method, right? You can think about how you can write it again in a different way, right? Say use a different transitional devices and say, try to rewrite the sentence and see if it fits the flavor of what the person wanted to convey. Okay. Practice is the only way, but use all the techniques and strategies that are suggested. All right. Who asked the question? I did not clearly see your name. Who was it?
Sarvani ma'am.
Sarvani, did you get what I meant?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Okay. Okay. Now, the next one. It is very famous for the shooting of movie Three Idiot, where last scene of the movie has been filmed. It is very famous scene of this film. Okay, so all these three sentences, these two sentences are about the single thing. Now, what can you do about this? What's the problem here in the first sentence that you see here?
I think tense.
Tense. Okay, what is the problem with the tense?
From the starting, we are speaking in past tense. Can we start here?
Now suddenly he says it is, right? Yeah, so that's a problem. Good. Tense inconsistency. That's a problem. What other problems do you see?
Shooting, spelling.
Shooting, spelling, right? The thing has been completely messed up. Not shooting, it's shooting. But again, when you're writing this one, a better word to use while you're writing would be filming than shooting. Shooting is a very informal word. You can replace the word shooting here with filming, right? So it is very famous for, but I want you to rewrite this sentence. Can you suggest? I don't like the sentence. I want you to rewrite this. I'm going to type in my suggestion here, but you also meanwhile tell me what will you write.
Have you heard? Like that we can start.
Have you heard? This person is writing, no? So try and write something that is a simple declarative sentence instead of an interrogative sentence. Okay, see this. Okay, a rephrase of what has been written in these two lines. This place appeared in the famous Hindi movie Three Idiots. The climax of the movie was filmed here. Right? So this is a better way of presenting that than the two sentences that you see on the screen. So we made corrections with respect to word choice. We made correction with respect to what she was suggesting, right? Sarvani said that there's a tense inconsistency. So now we change that also. Since he was using past tense from the beginning, we changed that tense to past tense again in the two sentences we wrote. Okay, so both these problems are corrected now. Okay, all right. So when you are editing, you should also keep this in mind. Okay, if you think there is anything that is, hindering the clarity, okay, you think it is not presented properly, then you'll have to rephrase. Okay, rephrase is the key. And when you're rephrasing, Try and use transitional devices, even if it is not possible to use transitional device, so it does not make sense to use it there. Play around with the words. Look for better word choices. Okay. How do you improve on your word choice? You read, right? You'll have to read a lot, because when you read, you're also looking at the sentences that these people are constructing, right? So you get an idea about how should you, what are the different ways and you can construct a good looking sentence, right? All right, so this is the correction that we made. And then the last part here, apart from this lake, we also visited Somoriri Lake, situated on the border of Himachal Pradesh and UT Lake. Okay, any problem here? Apart from, do you say apart from? Can we replace it with besides? Right, this is a common mistake. A lot of people would say apart from. In fact, what you should write is besides. Okay, besides this lake, we also visited Somoriri Lake, located on the borders of Himachal Pradesh and UT Lake.
UT
Sorry?
is not very clear. I think union territory, but it's not, everyone may not understand.
What is not clear? Sorry?
And this UT, I think it's union territory.
Probably, that's what they meant. Union Territory Lake. Okay, that's what the person meant. You can, avoid using these abbreviations, but if it's a universally available one, then it is all right. In Indian context, people understand what UT is, so it's all right. Okay. But if you're writing for a larger this thing, then you will have to completely write it in the Union Territory of Leh. Okay. You have to completely write it out. But in this case, it is okay. Then the last sentence, this trip was very important and superb because it was very different trip from other trips I had earlier. How do we have to write that? That sentence looks like a proper filler sentence. Instead of that, you could simply place a concluding statement, a restatement of what is being said in topic sentence. You simply say that, in all, the trip was absolutely enjoyable. Okay, or you say, in all, the trip was very enjoyable, and anything that you want to add, like you learned a lot of things or anything. You simply place a sentence. Basically you're reiterating what you said in your first sentence, that it was very fantastic or whatever. Not very fantastic, something else, the way we change it. You use that same idea and repeat that in your concluding sentence, right? Instead of writing, vague sentences like it was a different trip from other trips, just find a method to restate what you have written in the first one. Just say, in all, the trip was quite enjoyable. Okay. Huh? So that's how you can do. Okay. Got it, Prakash. We understood. This is how you can make corrections to editing corrections and proofreading corrections to works. Okay, you can utilize the things that we did to this sample to your writing also, right? So the key thing is that you write it down first, right? Like I discussed already with you, writing is always at least 2, 3, 4 drafts. Okay, nobody sends, no good, even the most seasoned authors will not send their first draft off to anybody. Okay, so revision is the key to good writing. And while you're revising, keep in mind all the points that we have discussed. Okay, is that okay? Does this work? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Fine then. Any questions that you have? No? Okay. So shall we then close? This would be the last session for the writing skills workshop. This is just a quick thing that we decided to do so that, if there is anybody, in case there's anyone who's looking forward to get help on this part, and we thought I'll just do a pilot run and see how it works. Okay. Now, any questions you have? Okay, then shall we close then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Prakash and others, thank you so much. Some of you have been consistent in all the 4 sessions. Thank you for joining in. I hope you have learned something at least. Okay, so write back to us in case you're looking for more and all. We'll see what we can do about it. Leak is famous as a site where the last scene of the Indian movie 3. Okay, that is also a good point to raise. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, it is fine now. No problem. Okay, so I'll meet you again for something else that we would plan. Thank you for joining in. See you, everyone. Bye.